And we are back with the new Pomodoro. I don't even remember what I was talking about 5 minutes ago. But basically, we want to start looking at the score. Implementing the logic, rather. The fact that it comes through the score is something that we are gonna look into in a second. So we want to keep implementing the logic of all of these. So I don't want to just do all the code to pass the specific test that we have on the screen right now, because that means implementing all the logic, and I don't want to do that. I want to go bit by bit. So I can decide to, or in fact we are going to decide to, how we go. First, slightly smaller, get the single role up and running. Usually when you have a test, and I mentioned it before on the previous video, I want to do an action and then observe the reaction to it. Funny enough, probably on purpose, the requirements of this kata give us that. Now, seeing doing an action, the action itself and the reaction to it, it does can be in completely separate systems. It doesn't have to be the same system, doesn't have to be the same piece of data. That is not important, as long as you can see the reaction to it. On this case, an action is doing a roll, the reaction is the change of score, and we have score to be able to look at the results, yeah? So, let's gonna create GameTest.cs, a file called GameTest.cs. On the bowling game test namespace, class game test, and over here we are going to have fat for now. I'm going to have a single roll and see what happens when I do a single roll. So the setup is very similar to what we had before, yeah? Get a new game in place. Let's gonna do a roll. Let's gonna say 5, for example. Oh, I forgot. No, it's still running, My Pomodoros are still running. Five over here. Okay, we have save. Now, interesting, other watchers do slightly different, but Tone Watch doesn't pick up the fact that you have new tests available because you have created a new file. So I have to run it again from the start. Oh, yeah. We forgot the using over here. course, that's score, no goal. Okay, I'm just gonna see that specific error that is giving us at the moment. Okay, no, it has passed, but with a couple of errors. In that case, let's gonna now, yes, I can see the errors that here over there. Okay, so basic implementation of if we follow the strict to the rule, we can just return 5 over here, yeah. By the way, this being an object, no good. That's gonna remove. That's gonna convert it into an integer. That's what we are returning. Okay. Why Papa is still failing? We're gonna see why. Does it tell us? Oh, of course. Okay, one pass, one fail. Now I don't like to have the fail all the time over there. That is mightily annoying. So let's gonna get that out of the way over here. Now there is, thankfully, XUnit comes to the help with this idea of traits. Category, gonna call it specs for now. Not sure that's the nicest name possible, but doesn't matter. We can change that later. So we have this category of specs that we have decided this big one is gonna be. So then the interesting part is that then we can do a filter. When the category is not specs, and if I have put this correctly, hopefully, that should keep running that specific test. Skipping that test, we'll go to the other one. Now, I could always come over here and decide at this point to run that test. Specs. Or to have it watching on a watch over here, yeah? It's completely out of the way because I can put that into my other screen, let it be running. I know that I'm not gonna be passing. That I know. Until I haven't completed all the code, this test is not gonna pass. So, how would you prefer? Probably just run it manually when I think I'm close to be completed. When I know that I have implemented the spare, when I know that I have implemented the extract, when I know that I have implemented bonus solve, then I will run the test. Until then, that specific test is gonna be failing. Okay. Now, what happens if we pass 6 or 7 or 8 over here? We have two options, two things. Well, first is just adding a second roll. Passing a 6 over here. We have a 6 over here, and up, there we go. That's gonna fail now. We know because of the fact that is the 6 is incorrectly set up. Yeah. Expected result to be 6, but found 5. That's fine. Let's gonna back over here. Now we have to do something with this. Let's gonna do again the simplest possible thing that we can do. So we want to use the pin downs, that's the score. We roll, we get that into the results. That's what is what we have at the moment over there. So let's do that. Let's do that. Let's declare running score. I'm putting things. I've been working on in so many languages that I kind of forget what is supposed to be the standard for each language. Okay, that's better. We can say that I use this. I like using this for things that are within the, especially because it's a place where you know what this actually means. Okay. Now both tests are passing. Small thing that I want to get out of the way right now is that these kind of tests over here are just annoying. When the whole test is exactly the same, but there's the difference of one small item. Yeah. You can use to be able to have parameterized tests. You use XUnit. You use the theories. There are several ways of doing theories. We are gonna use inline data because it's the simplest one, and it's the only thing we have. Basically, a single item that we are passing around. So, okay. Awesome. Both tests are passing. So what I can do now is, both tests are exactly the same. The only difference is the 5 and 6. So I just gonna go down over here and get just gonna put the 6 over here, and we can remove this test now because it's actually the same thing. Oops, don't delete too much. And you should be able to see at the bottom 2 tests still passing. I could add the third one to have 7s, 8s, but no, doesn't really matter. Now we could have a handling of what happens if you have a negative number. What happens if you pass a 10? There is nothing on the requirements about this. So what should you do if it's actual production code? What should you do? You know that there is an issue over there, the possible issue over there. Well, you don't code it. You go and talk with your client what they want to do, or maybe talk the rest of the team, talk with the other teams, because maybe the right place to have the check for the number of pins that you are passing a number between 0 and 10 is in the UI, and maybe not here. I mean, it's difficult to see with this one because it's the single point at the moment, yeah? But you have multiple layers, and then you're passing data through multiple layers. You don't want to test every single layer that the data is between those two values. It's overkill most of the time. Again, it depends. Consultant, it depends. So you have to talk with them. Right now, there is nothing on the requirements, so let's gonna skip it for now. Maybe later on we decide to handle that idea, and then we deal with that. But what we can do now, we have the idea of a single role. It's gonna have the idea of multiple roles. What happens if I run multiple roles? What happens with the score? Yeah. Oopsies, that's not there in place yet. So that's gonna have a game. So 5. Okay, so we are getting 2 roles. Now, when you have multiple you have ranges of data, be that range of data list, be that range of data integers, be that range of data whatever, you want to always test past the limits, within the limits, and inside. Now, when we have multiple roles, well, already we have the idea is how many roles we want to test. Do we test what happens with 2 roles, or with 3 roles, on 4 and 5 and 6? And you say you could create tests for every single one of them, but it is not of interest because it's just repeated code. We have the idea of property-based testing that has generators, and generators are a very interesting idea, but it's not we are not there yet. At least what we are doing over here doesn't require that kind of stuff. I want to have a collection of multiple ones. As long as I have 2 different setups, usually it should be okay. As in, when I mean multiple setups over here, is that there are 2 ways to solve this. Right now with two roles, yeah. One is that I have, instead of running a score, I could have pins down 1, pins down 2, and then have a checker here if pins down 1 is bigger than 0. Remember, 0 is the default on the default value for integers. Well, we can check for that, which is not a good default because 0 is actually a possible score. A possible number of pins that you have taken down is 0. So either you start looking at using -1 or using nulls or whatnot. So there is one way that we can go. But I'm not gonna go that way because it's just, even when in theory pure TDD will tell you to go that specific way, a very strict TDD, we have a bit more knowledge than that. And the solution we already have it in place. So yeah, so that specific thing over there makes it everything pass, yeah. And we know, because of the properties of field, is that we add the third roll and it's still gonna work. We can add it as a separate test, or a test, modifying a test that already exists. What you do, it depends on what you are on the specific test and the properties of the test. On this case, just modifying the existing test, kind of the easiest thing to do. Okay, let's gonna check this in, and again it's coming to the bottom. Okay. Let's gonna add this one as a separate commit. And then okay, now remember this original test expected 120 but found 5. We can run it right now. Listen test and see what happens. We found 99. We are getting closer. Only 21 points missing in our setup, which is all the bonus points. Interesting. I think I have done it once before like that, with the idea of a bonus roll. We can think about that in a second. But our next test is gonna be about spares. Okay, so as described on the test, rolling a spare adds a bonus roll here. So let's gonna this selection of rolls over here is not very good. Now that I'm looking at it, this selection of rolls will fail as soon as we set up this one over here, this spare ball. In fact, that's another thing that we have talked about before, yeah? Sorry, the thing on my head, on my on my headphones. Now we have, remember that we are talking about numbers that are less than 0 or more than 10. Now we have over here, we have been able to roll an 11 on a single frame, kind of. So a thing to take into account that we're going to have to deal with later. Sometimes I will put that just as a comment on the code. Sometimes sticky note, sometimes drop it into a Slack or a Zulip. I love Zulip. As something that needs to be discussed. Yeah. So right now I'm gonna actually write it down here on a card. But we'll deal with that later, because that's an out of the normal flow issue. I would prefer to finish first the normal flow, and then we'll go with the strange things. So for now, I haven't done any code over here. Let's gonna leave it like that, and on the next Pomodoro, we'll start looking at implementing those spares.